Hey, my friends, it's Nate Short, and welcome to a special episode of Run Your Business Like a Business, a podcast where we explore better ways of how to run your real estate business more like a real business and at the same time create better life balance. Hey, I'm your host, Nate Short, and I'm honored to be your high performance coach today with this episode. And I've spent the last 20 years working as a high-performing realtor while at the same time coaching, training, managing, writing, and studying human psychology and sales at literally the top levels in the real estate brokerage industry. And I created RYBLAB.com, which is an acronym for Run Your Business Like a Business, to really explore the topics of sales systems, accountability, motivation, focus, productivity, confidence, and more. And my goal, inspired by my own personal journey, is to help real estate agents create dynamic, fun, profitable real estate businesses while at the same time having amazing life balance, energy, and passion for living your best life. And so if that's what you're looking for, that is what we're doing today. And just as a reminder, if you want to go to another level of development, both personally and professionally, be sure to check out my coaching programs at RYBLAB.com, where we believe that coaching is a key part of every agent's life when it comes to getting more sales, being more profitable, having more fun, and most importantly, while having life outside real estate as well. Because it's time to level up, my friend. It's time to take your year back. It's time to find that focus and that confidence and that vibrancy and that vibe again. And I'd love to be your coach into fuller levels of high performance. Now, without further ado, let's jump into today's episode. Okay, and welcome to this episode where I'm going to be talking, about a lot of different things. I thought I would just really have a conversation about this time of year and what agents should be doing to kind of wrap up the year, but also, as they head into 2021, really think about how they set it up properly. We're coaching literally dozens of real estate agents right now, and a lot of what comes up is, of course, the business planning and, just getting ready for the holidays and all of that. And so in this episode, what I thought I would do is just talk about the mindset, both from a high performance standpoint, but also from just a regular business coaching standpoint, and tell you the things that, what we're focusing on, at least, that over the years, over my 20 years of experience, things that I've learned and things that I think are important as far as a mindset goes. And so I thought I would just go down, really kind of the 8 things that I think are important at this time of the year, and hopefully you can get something from it. We'll spend about 15, 20, 25 minutes maybe just talking about the routines, about the systems, and about the things that really can set you apart as we head into this next year and set your business up. I really have always thought of the end of November, kind of beginning of December, and all the way through January as the time for us to create the foundation for what's going to happen in the following year. In my view, is the most important time of the year. Obviously in the busier months in the spring and the summer, we're trying to sell houses, and a lot of times our systems and routines get pushed to the wayside a little bit, because especially if we don't have the systems in place to maintain them. And so I thought I would just go through kind of some of the 8 things, I guess I wrote down here, that I feel are really important this time of year. So the first thing I want to talk about, and we know that, having done literally thousands of surveys with real estate agents, that there's only about 30% of the agents that actually do a business plan. And as Craig Godry said in one of our previous episodes, he's a real high producing realtor in the Kirkland, Washington area, that the best business plan is the one that you're going to use. And I totally identify with that. Hopefully you do too. Is just that, so many of us will either not create a business plan, or we create a business plan and we just throw it in the drawer. And so one of the things that I've learned over the years is to create more of a different technique. It's called mind mapping. And what we do when we create business plans is we basically draw, and what mind mapping is, for those of you who don't know, it's a way to draw out things, to make them make sense, rather than just writing words. And what we do is we write in like graphics, more graphically. So we're going to put big circles and ideas, and we're going to use color crayons to really mind map out what it is we want for our business. And in business planning, mostly what I talk about is who it is that we're going to focus on, because that's so important. Of course, who we focus on affects so many different things. How much money we're going to spend, where we're going to spend our time, how much we're going to enjoy the business. Because obviously, if we're working on things or focusing on people that we don't really, or part of the business that we don't really enjoy, then that's going to be, a problem. And so we first, look at who it is that we're going to focus on. The second thing we do is look to identify how are we going to develop deeper relationships with those people. And we really have three different ways of developing deeper relationships, in my view. We have kind of the digital toolbox, if you will. And that's your website. That's your emails that you send out, all your email campaigns. That is your social media, those kinds of things. And then the last part of the business plan really is to identify how many transactions or how many deals we want to get from those efforts. And so in a nutshell, that's really how we break down business planning. We set some goals, of course. And I think the thing that I think about real estate or about business planning in particular is just really to create something that you want, a business that you want, that gets you super excited. Because if it doesn't get you excited at the end of the day, you're not going to have enough motivation, not enough ambition to really go out and make it happen. And so many agents are just playing either, at the small level, or they're playing at a contented level. In coaching, we call it the cage life or the contented life, rather than the charged life. And the charged life is that area. Like if I were to just say, how would you rate your business right now as we're wrapping up? Is it a 9 or a 10 on a scale of 1 to 10? Or is it more like 6, I had an okay year, 6, 7, 8? Or is it a 2 or 3 or 4? And if it's at the bottom end of that, it really means that, you got to go back and kind of reevaluate what is driving you, what's the motivation behind you being in the business. And if you're just kind of operating in the middle of that spectrum, and you have been for a while, then looking at, well, gosh, why is that? And why am I settling for that? And what can I do to kind of, take my business up a notch? So, of course, that's what we do a lot in the coaching. But I think, again, the first thing to this time of year, get that business plan done. Because actually I've already completed my business plan. I'm working with my agents to complete their business plans. And frankly, it's already being executed. We're already a month into it as far as the execution goes. And so that's the first thing. Second thing is, as part of the business plan, really drilling down what it is that we want to do from a marketing standpoint to maintain and build our businesses. And of course, this is part of the business plan. Is that how we develop deeper relationships with people? But I think a lot of the things that I've done in the past, where I write down certain parts of the marketing, but I realized that I didn't get specific enough. I didn't get detailed enough, and so some things really fell through the cracks, and I didn't either follow through with them, or I didn't have the right triggers or reminders in place to execute on my marketing plan. And so this year in particular, there's a couple different tools that I'm using that I've learned about. And one is just the ability to create a plan and identify what are the 5, we call them big rocks. What are the 5 things that can really move my business forward? And, so many times the coaches will say, oh, well, just make more phone calls, or up your personal notes, or, add one person to your database every day. And, all those are great, but those get you kind of small incremental increases. They don't get you like the dramatic big changes typically. And I just want to talk to you about one experience that I had back in 2008, 7 and 8, when started the Great Recession. And this really hit home for me when I did this. But, 2007 rolled around, things were starting to go down a bit, and we didn't know how far it was going to go down. But in 2008 beginning, I drove over to Spokane, Washington, and I had identified some banks that I thought I might want to work with, as these REOs or these real estate owned properties started to come back as non-performing assets. And of course, we didn't know the extent of what was going to happen exactly, but we certainly knew there was a big problem. And I ended up taking a guy out for lunch. His name's Bob Kenny. I still talk with him today. He doesn't work at this bank anymore because they got bought. But and it was with Sterling Bank. He was with Sterling Bank, and they had a very small REO department. And I took him out for lunch and showed him some of my marketing material and just created a relationship with him. And I actually drove over to Spokane from Seattle just for that one day. And over the next several years, he gave me basically dozens of listings. In fact, one day he called me in 2000, right at the end of 2010, and gave me 56 listings in one day. And it just showed me, okay, now that was a big rock, right? To be able to identify, okay, here's where the business is going. Who can I create relationships with that can have a huge impact, rather than just, say, adding a person to your database every day, or just kind of nonchalantly, joining an association or an organization. We teach that, of course, in a lot of the different coaching. But to go up a notch, a lot of times what we'll ask agents is, if you were going to 10x your business next year, how would you actually do that? Like, what would you need to do to 10x your business? And it's not just making more phone calls. It's not just, doing a few extra personal notes or anything. I mean, you've really got to think about, okay, who is it that can deliver me multiple offers, or multiple transactions? And it changes your paradigm completely. And so that is something to think about as you're building out your marketing plan, is what are your big rocks? What are the 5 things that you can be doing that are really going to move the needle? Not just the little pebbles or the sand. I like to give the analogy that, it's like a vase. And so if you put these big rocks into a vase, of course, it fills the vase up a lot quicker. And then you can pour little pebbles and sand around that. And so many of us, and I'm saying myself as well, this has happened to me in the past, where, I get into the minutia. And, I don't know if you can identify, but we get into that minutia and we don't think bigger, because nobody's challenging us. Nobody's really asking the questions of, okay, if you were going to 10x or 3x your business even next year, what would have to happen to achieve that? Because there's people out there that are doing that, and you wonder, well, they just had the relationship, or they must be lucky, or they must have had the money to start with, and a lot of times that's not the case. A lot of times it's that they just thought at a different level, or they got coached at a different level to create and focus on these big rocks. And so, what are those big rocks for you? To me, we think about relationships, like how do you form bigger relationships with people that have the ability to give, to be in a place to refer you more transactions? Is that maybe relocation companies, or financial planners, or divorce attorneys, or developers, or finance people who finance big projects? Those kinds of things. Also, just looking at those daily routines. Certainly making phone calls is probably one of the biggest things you can do. I mean, if you just sat down and made 10 calls a day, that's 50 calls a week. And, that's a lot of phone calls. That's, a couple hundred phone calls every month, where you're creating energy and you're creating focus. And, of course, on what you focus on really expands. And so we know that's an important one, and another, I think, big rock. So looking for those big rocks is certainly something. And getting that, not only just identifying those things, but also getting them into your calendar. Because one of the things we say a lot in coaching is, if it's not in your calendar, it's a dead dream. And I just want to pause a little bit on that. If it's not in your calendar, it's a dead dream. And the reason is that, that really hit me in the face one day, because when my coach told me that, it was like, okay, I've put out this plan, I want to execute on it, but how much of it is actually in my calendar and as part of my daily routines? And so when we look at these 5 rocks, one of the ways that we do that is we have people write down their 3 big goals for the day, in addition to their to-dos. A lot of people come into the office and they'll write down all of their to-dos, but they're not really referring back to their 3 big goals and then the activities that really support those 3 big goals, and then we get sidetracked. So anyway, the marketing plan is the second piece think big rocks, think detail. I actually have the entire 2021, everything I'm going to do on a daily basis. And I'm going to only work 4 days a week next year, Monday through Thursday, to focus more on my coaching business. But I've already got it planned out. The next thing is that I think is important is looking at your budgets. This is a great time to reflect on where you're spending your money. What's your home budget look like? So many people, they don't talk about home budgets, but that's a really important piece to understand is how much am I spending? How much am I committed to? And then on the business side, where am I going to spend my money as I am putting this marketing plan in place? So once you have your marketing plan, then you can break down the costs. And things, they don't have to be super expensive. One of the biggest things that we're doing, on the digital side, of course, we have our website. We have another email blast program. It's a very customized email that goes out to people, and it's a company called homebot.ai. And if you haven't checked that out, go check it out. One of the things I love about it is basically you put your client's name and information in there, you put their address, and then every month it sends an email to your client, and it gives them really a much more, at least I found, much more accurate estimate of what the value of their home is. But it doesn't just give them that value, it also gives them a lot of tools around, what if they went to a 15-year mortgage, or what if they were able to leverage some of the equity that's in their house into other investments. And so, and on top of it, you're able to see how many times the person's viewed it and which pages they viewed. And then, that can be a real great tool to help you make your phone calls on a daily basis. So the more people you can get into something like that. You can also partner with a lender on that. So it's very inexpensive, about $25 a month, and a great tool to be able to do that. But my point on the budgeting is that, we don't really have to spend a huge amount of money. I spend about $26,000 a year on my marketing in a business that's doing around $400,000 to $500,000 of gross revenues. So, so many people are spending just an inordinate amount of money, whether it's on online lead generation or Zillow ads or, this kind of thing. And so this is a great time of year to really look at that and budget it all out and just make sure, am I getting what I want out of the business? The next thing that I want to talk a little bit about for end of the year mindset is doing year-end reviews for your clients. And so year-end reviews are super powerful. I often equate it to if you have a financial advisor, does your financial advisor call you? Do they set up a time maybe once or twice a year to go over your portfolio, kind of go through your, how your stocks are allocated and what your goals are, and maybe some other things that are in addition to just the stock portfolio itself, like maybe a will or insurance, or maybe, like for example, my son turned 18 this year and I didn't know I need to put a power of attorney in place. That's something that my financial advisor recommended to me. And so what that does is it just really offers a ton of value outside of what my portfolio does. And it's also an ability for them to really touch base with me and create that personal connection. So if you're not doing year-end reviews, I highly recommend doing those. The goal for me has to be to get out 200 year-end reviews for my past clients or friends by the end of the year. And I know that if I can do that, you think about 200. Well, if 10% of those people move, which is the average, then that's 20 deals right there. And I don't even have to do anything else outside of my marketing. I don't have to go try to get any online leads or, be top of mind with SEO and all of the search engine optimization, all that stuff. And so I think that that's a really key thing to focus on is year-end reviews. And really you can do that all the way through, end of January or February. You can do it throughout the whole year. It doesn't just have to be at the end of the year. But this is a great way to do that. And maybe you also want to do it twice a year. I don't know. That could be overkill. But the key thing is these things come up during these meetings when you're doing a year-end review. And what I do is I just send them by mail but then I'll also email them a copy and I'll call them. So there's kind of three things. And sometimes I don't get a hold of them. Sometimes I'm not able to talk to them. But just the fact that I took the effort to pull down some of the comparables for their specific house, to give them some information on the market, tell them kind of a little bit about where I think the market's going to go the next year, and maybe how I can help them, vendors for, say, remodels, or ways to, ideas like a return. A lot of people will ask me about, well, Nate, if I remodel my kitchen, what's the return going to be for me? Or is that worth it to do? So those kinds of discussions, now you're starting to move yourself from the sales guy or gal to the expert, the consultant, the linchpin, as we like to say. And that's super powerful. That's very defensible. It's hard for companies that, especially discount real estate agents, or agents who haven't been in the business a long time, to come in and take that business from you. The next thing that I'm focusing on is phone calls, and this kind of plays into the year-end reviews, but just making those phone calls. And I mentioned a little bit earlier in my marketing plan, if there were one thing that I would say that could take your business to that next level, it's just consistently making the phone calls. And maybe that's Zoom or something like that. But I also think it's not just making the phone calls to check in and say hi, because people are so busy right now, but it's really calling them with some kind of purpose. Hey, I wanted to see how you're doing. Obviously this has been a tough year with COVID, but I also wanted to tell you, about a couple things. I just wanted to check in and see, are you enjoying those HomeBot emails that I'm getting or that I'm sending to you? I noticed that you're logging into them and looking at your home valuation. Two things that I'm focusing on with purpose is I'm trying to be that resource, trying to tell them about, like that email that I'm sending them, the HomeBot. I'm also trying to, this year's real focus is to get them into HomeSnap, because wow, what a powerful tool that is. If you can create this collaboration through HomeSnap with your best clients, that's super tight, super powerful. Another thing that I'm focusing on at the end of the year here is to get out my Christmas cards or my holiday cards. And I did have a few years where I missed the holiday cards, especially to my clients. And frankly, it was an opportunity that I missed to kind of reconnect, to show them my family, and to just the whole holiday cheer thing. And so that's something I never miss now. It's getting it's getting those Christmas cards out to people, maybe putting a little personal note. Again, it's just another touch point. So they're getting their year-end review and they're getting a Christmas card from me. And if they're a platinum or a gold, they also might be getting a bottle of wine or a gift or a candle or something like that. The big thing here is that, we want to create flow, but we also want to go to that next level with the other people, other agents that they know are just not doing. And so that's something I'm focusing on. The next thing that I'm focusing on and really trying to figure out is this time of year is to look at the routines that are really serving me, those that have been really beneficial and are helping me create either more business or create more time for myself or more life balance, like or health, all the things that we coach in high performance coaching, the 6 pillars, what we call clarity, energy, necessity, productivity, influence, and courage. And really look at the routines around that are helping me. So some are not, like 2 glasses of wine at night or some kind of other alcoholic drink, or a lot of TV at night around watching shows that really don't add anything to your life. Particularly like right now when we don't have as much to do with COVID, we really have to look at the routines, and it's so easy to kind of get in these ruts or routines that aren't serving us. And so I'm just asking myself even, okay, how can I upgrade my routines? How can I get to, even more efficiency, even more of a charged life by focusing on things that are really going to motivate me and help me, I guess, not only serve my purpose as I'm here on this earth, but also help create more, learning and growth and freedom. So that's the next thing. And actually that's a great segue into this last part of personal growth. And, for me, 2020 is probably one of my most enjoyable years in so many respects. I mean, it's been difficult with COVID, difficult with the kids at home, difficult with just not being around people, not seeing people as much. But at the same time, I really dove deep into personal growth. And of course, becoming a high performance coach last year and having coached a bunch of people and a bunch of agents in business for the last 5-6 years, I had always had growth. I always enjoyed growth. I've always read all of the self-help books and self-development and all of that stuff. But this year I really went deep. And I actually did another thing that was incredibly helpful. I got involved with a mastermind group, a group of people that are just incredible people. They're great. They're coaches themselves. And they're all spread out all over the world, but there's 4 of us that get together every single week. We've been getting together since February. And, apart from, say, the morning routine and some of these other routines that you're putting in place, if you can put a mastermind group like that in place, it can take you to a whole nother level, both personally and professionally. And so, those are really some of my thoughts, my recommendations as you're going through the rest of the month here and into the end of January is, get that business plan done. Really figure out what's going to get you pumped up and what motivates you and why you're in this business in the first place. Detail that marketing plan. Look at the big rocks of what can really move your business forward and take it to that next level. And or big rocks that'll either take you to that next level or give you more time or more freedom to pursue maybe some other interests that you have. Watch the number side of things. Really understand the budgeting side of things. Do the year-end reviews and think of it as really an opportunity to serve your clients and be that resource, that linchpin for them. Make your phone calls and the Zoom calls as much as you can and call with a purpose. Get your holiday, whatever your holiday cards plan or, if you're going to give gifts or whatever, get those out. Enjoy doing that. That's really great to be able to give, to serve, people that way. Look at the routines that you have. Look at those, especially those micro routines, things that you're doing every single day. I mentioned just real quickly the morning routine. If I were to pick one routine, it's the morning routine. Focus on how you can improve that. Do it consistently. Do it the same time every day, and really see what's serving you and what's not. Are you working towards the charged life, 8, 9, 10, in the scale of 1 to 10, or are you kind of settling for mediocrity, for what we call the content life? And then, 2021 is a great time to just continue to focus on personal growth. We have so much information at our fingertips, and yet it can be a little bit difficult to weed through. And so just having a voice through a podcast like this is just amazing to be able to do that. But guys, those are some of the things that I'm thinking about as we head out of 2020, thank God, and into 2021 to, I think, a really bright year that we're going to have. It's going to be, I just can't wait to start experiencing 2021 and helping my people, my team, the people that I'm coaching, and continuing to just grow, live, and serve people. So that's all I got for you today. I hope that you've enjoyed this podcast, and we will see you. We've got a bunch of great guests coming up for the rest of the month. So if you know of other people who might enjoy this podcast, please tell them about it or forward it. Appreciate you guys, and we'll see you in the next episode.